Okay, to stay on, we need you to have a quorum, okay?
Yes, I am. Speaker.
You are on speaker. Okay, well, hopefully, we work through this quickly to where we won't hit that hour, but you never know, so. We'll keep you on speaker and we'll get things kicked off, okay? Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Davis. Edie Davis. McDonald.
Here.
Brian Ellis. Jessica Griffith. Dave Hava.
Here.
Brian Holman.
Here.
Vic Mays. David Mills.
Here.
Jacob Pack.
Here.
Donald Foley.
Here.
Steve Perry. Adam Sigmund. Travis Willard.
Here.
Lynn Yeager.
Here. Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the action on the minutes from the June 6th meeting.
Motion that the minutes be approved as presented.
Can I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next item on the agenda would be citizens' concerns. Is there anyone here who would like to speak? Okay, so that closes the citizens' concerns section. Before we we move into the text amendment, I do want to make note of an acknowledgement for our good friend Jason Asbury. Obviously, Jason's no longer part of the board. But I just want to acknowledge Jason's contribution, not only to the county, but the planning commission. Jason did bring a high level of expertise, and his contributions were appreciated. So the next item would be the text amendment 2023-04.
Thank you, Mr. President. Everybody can follow along on their iPads. The summary for the text amendments are file number 3 on your iPads. We're here to discuss the proposed text amendment 2023-04, which is some ordinance maintenance language. Mr. Asbury applied for a text amendment to amend Article 1800.06 of the zoning ordinance, as well as Articles 400.01, 400.02, 500.04, 900.01, 900.02, 1300.01, 1300.04, 1500.02, and Appendix E and F of the subdivision regs. The first article is 1800.06 of the zoning ordinance, application requirements for expansion or enlargement of non-conforming uses. If you'll scroll down, you'll see that item number 7 and number 8 are proposed to be stricken. And then down on item number 11, you just see that the text is revised to read items 1 through 6 as opposed to 1 through 8. You also scroll down and you'll see the familiar applicant, what we like to call the applicant's responsibility language, proposed to be added to this article, which states it is the applicant's responsibility to obtain all applicable permits and plan approvals from all authorities having jurisdiction in the state of West Virginia, i.e. Department of Environmental Protection, West Virginia Department of Highways, Putnam County Health Department, Putnam County Putnam Public Service District, West Virginia American Water, etc. It is also the responsibility of the stated West Virginia entities to enforce their own agency regulations and violations. That was amended on 10/11 of 22. And that is the extent of the revision to that article. The rest of the articles I'll be discussing will be articles from the subregs. And if you'll scroll down, you'll see the next article is Article 400.01, General Requirements of water facilities. You see that Roman numeral 3, the last sentence is stricken. Roman numeral 4, the sentence, the text is stricken, and the what we'll call the applicant responsibility language is added. I won't read that again because it's the same language that I just read. Next article is 400.02, individual wells and central water systems. You'll see the last sentence of Roman numeral 1 is stricken. Article 500.04, design criteria for sanitary sewers. You'll scroll down to Roman numeral 4. You see the last paragraph is stricken there, and the applicant responsibility language is added. Next article is 900.01, general improvements of reservations and design. See that item number 2 is stricken, 3 is stricken, and the applicant responsibility language is added. Article 900.02, self-imposed restrictions. Appendix C is stricken. That should read Appendix E. Article 1300.01, minimum requirements and standards for townhouses. You will scroll down to Roman numeral 6. You see Appendix C is stricken in favor, it should say Appendix E. And the applicant responsibility language is added. 1300.04, other requirements for townhomes. Same deal, Roman numeral 6, you strike Appendix C and add, replace that with Appendix E, major subdivision development preliminary plat checklist. We'll move on to Article 1500.02, which is words and terms defined in the subregs. The exempt lot definition is stricken in favor of the new exempt division of land definition, which was established in our upgraded, renovated subregs that we've done over the last past year and a half. The existing definition of major subdivision is stricken in favor of the new definition, the two new definitions of major division of land and major subdivision development. Now, it's optional here at this point to add the definition of development along with the major subdivision development. It is defined in the subregs. Again, that's just an option. We could add it there as a bullet point to the major subdivision development, or we could simply let it stand on its own. If you scroll down through the definitions within the subdivision regs, the term subdivision is defined on its own, and it's currently defined as major, which is number 1, administrative, which is number 2, and exempt, which is number 3. Thank you. It's proposed to strike those old definitions in favor of the updated, revised definitions of major division of land, major subdivision development, and striking of administrative subdivision, and adding minor division of land and minor subdivision development, and striking the existing exempt division and adding in the new definition of exempt division of land. You scroll on down, you'll see Appendix E, which should be titled Major Subdivision Development Preliminary Plat Checklist. You'll see as you scroll down through, there are several places where the term development, major subdivision development preliminary plat has been, it replaces the language that was there previously. And if you keep scrolling down to bullet point number 18, you'll see that 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 26, 29, 30, and 31 are stricken. And the applicant responsibility, the standard applicant responsibility language is added in. If you scroll on down to Appendix F, which is the major subdivision development final as-built plat checklist, you'll see that, that the maintenance language has been corrected here, which is highlighted and in red. You see that bullet points number 8, 9, and 10 were stricken, and the applicant responsibility language added in. And if you continue to scroll down, you'll see that this is sort of an all-encompassing umbrella statement here that anytime you see the word, what previously said Putnam County subdivision regulation entries that read major subdivision development plat are to be amended to read major subdivision development preliminary plat. Bullet point number 2, wherever you see major subdivision development final plat, should be titled major subdivision development final as-built plat. So that is the proposed maintenance language to the ordinance to better reflect and be more consistent with recent text amendments. Facts that need to be determined. The proposed text amendment will protect and promote public health, safety, convenience, moral, and general welfare. The Planning Commission must find that the proposed text amendment is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan and ordinances. If the proposed text amendment is inconsistent, the Planning Commission must find that there have been major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature within the area involved, which were not anticipated when the comprehensive plan was adopted, and those changes have substantially altered the basic characteristics of the area. And you will see the next file is in your iPads is the checklist, but there's also a hard copy printed out in front of you to determine if you approve or approve with conditions or disapprove of the proposed text amendment.
Thank you, David. Just 2 items. One, we jumped ahead before I asked if there were any conflicts. So are there any conflicts related to what was just read by Mr. Cole? And then 2, Mr. Mays is here, so please let the minutes reflect that he's in attendance.
Question. Is this telling me that I can't divide my land out that I would like to divide it in the future?
It's always been.
So depending upon, what your plans would be for that land, you would have to potentially come through the planning department for the subdivision. If it's less than 5 lots?
Yeah,
it's a minor
5
subdivision.
or
If it's more
less
than 5,
within the past
it's-
10 years is we can do in the office.
What was the minor subdivision before? Because we expanded it from something to 5.
Yeah, it was like 3, I believe. Wasn't that 3? Yeah, it was 3. Yeah, 5 and under within the last 10 years is what we call a minor division of land or a minor development, depending upon, if you were going to make a 5-lot subdivision, let's say. 6 and up in the past 10 years is a major.
And I would like to note, too, that these proposed amendments did roll through the ordinance subcommittee as well, so these were discussed, with a smaller group made up of members of this plan.
David, you said that this was to conform or to fall in line with text amendments we've already made. Expound on that a little bit. Is it really, to me, it just looks like it's cleaning some stuff up.
Yes, exactly. When we made the revisions over the past several months, we knew that once we got a major subdivision project in-house, which we haven't had many, but now we are working on one. So when you go down through the ordinances, we caught these things.
Well,
Like
when
all.
you go out the utilities, I mean, it's that everybody that's built a subdivision up to this point has had to show these utilities or approved, or whatever. I guess from what you're saying, just what I'm looking at, is the Putnam County Planning Commission doesn't really control that. We have our part, and they have theirs.
Yeah, the divisions that I read within that, what we're calling the applicant language, the applicant is responsible to get their own permits, so as to expedite the process.
Get it out of here.
Right,
Now,
exactly.
do they have to show that to you at all, or that's just something?
Not
with the power
currently.
plan?
Yeah, not currently. Not, water and sewer and all that, that's their responsibility. And the text in the subregs, the reason it shows up, that little blurb shows up a few times, but it's to drive home that point that, hey, you got to take care of this yourself,
It really changes nothing that we do.
No, it just lessens the level of the documentation that we have to have in order to approve.
That's what it read like.
Yeah, which I believe, was pretty much the goal heading into the revision of the subregs over the past several months. So this is, when we dug into this major subdivision we're working on, we just found these inconsistencies. We knew we would, because the ordinance is a huge document, and you can't anticipate all those, potential changes until you have them in front of you. You go, oh, well, no, that doesn't work now. So this is an attempt to make everything cohesive.
And Dave and I, we met last week and we talked about this being, not this, but the entire ordinance being a living document. Until you put some of the changes that we've suggested and made to use, you're not going to know if they fit, if they need to be modified or amended, and that's what this is doing.
Keeps us from holding up.
Exactly.
If they're getting held up, they're holding themselves up.
Well said.
Okay, I know that Mr. Asbury is not here. He was the applicant. Does the public have any comments? Just please state your name and your address, please.
You got it. Linda Tennant, Hampton Crossing, 7 Hampton Crossing. Just start off with a question. On the legal ad, it had text amendment 2023-05. Is that being discussed tonight or just 04?
No, it's not.
Okay.
We put that on the agenda to discuss it, and upon further discussion with our county attorney, Mr. Fry, and myself and Mr. Mills and my staff, we decided that it wasn't quite ready
Okay.
to discuss.
Okay, just-
So we're going to run that back through the ordinance review subcommittee and make that a little bit cleaner, a little better, before we
Okay.
present it in front of the planning
Yeah,
commission.
I didn't see it on the
Right.
agenda, so that's kind of
Yeah.
why I was asking.
Yeah, when we ran the ad, it was our intent to
Okay.
discuss it tonight, but then we decided it wasn't quite ready.
Okay, so then you'll do another legal ad for that
Oh,
text?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And you'll also notice that tonight we were scheduled to discuss the major subdivision preliminary plat for the residences of Jordan Place, at Jordan Place, but the engineer had hit some stumbling blocks and wasn't able to have the documents ready.
Okay.
So that'll kick to next month.
Okay, all right. Well, then I'll comment on text amendment 2023-04. My public comments regard the proposed text amendment 2023-04 presented to the Planning Commission on July 18th. My comments include, it's my understanding the definition of non-conforming use is when land use or structure that was legal when established but does not conform to the current zoning regulations. As stated in Article 1800.01, the legislative intent is to, and this is listed in the ordinance, A, control construction of structures on non-conforming lots, B, restrict expansion of non-conforming structures used for permitted use, C, encourage the eventual elimination of non-conforming non-residential uses, and D, prevent the reestablishment of non-conforming uses after they are moved or abandoned. I'm guessing that that was deemed by the legislature for this regulation to meet those requirements. A non-conforming land use is an imperfection in the current zoning laws. There's a reason the Putnam County Commission modified the ordinances to address these planning flaws. However, under Article 1800.06, expansion and enlargement of non-conforming uses is permitted. Your proposed plan to modify Section 1800.06 and eliminate DOH and DEP permit requirements on a partial does not meet the current Putnam County planning ordinances. There is a distinct reason the county ordinance was changed, and this should be considered. Under Article 1800.06, Section B, a pre-application conference is scheduled with the planning director and the applicant. Under Article 1800.06, Section B3, the planning director, along with the applicant, establishes exact requirements for a complete and full submission of the application. This allows the applicant to work with the planning director to help prepare for the scope of work and schedules, including permit applications. Most importantly, this pre-application meeting is an opportunity for the planning director to help the applicant determine what might be needed to gain BZA approval. When the formal application is completed and agreed upon, the consideration of the process continues with the BZA. Once the BZA approves to proceed, the applicant then prepares the overall site development plan that may include DOH, access permits, and NPDES stormwater permits. This amendment will remove the approved DOH and NPDES permit requirements. Under Article 1800.06, Section 11, this authorizes the planning director to determine if certain documents or plans are unnecessary or not applicable. With that authority, requirements may be waived as noted in this section. This section allows for the Office of Planning and Infrastructure, the planning experts, to decide if an approved DOH or DEP permit is required. My concern with this proposed amendment is that more authority is removed from the planning director and his staff of experts. These are the experts. Members of the Planning Commission may have some experience in urban planning, yet may not have the full scope of all the specific requirements, including background and histories of surrounding properties of the non-conform parcels. Having knowledge of historical references, documents, previous decisions, and ruling is key to the success of meeting the requirements of the comprehensive plans. So please allow Director Call and his team of experts to make this determination. It's worked in the past, why change? And I'll submit my public comment. And then for the subdivision comments under Appendix E, I'll submit further comments on that. I'm guessing this is going to be going to the County Commission for approval? Or?
Yes, it will.
Okay, I'll submit it for the County Commission. I don't know.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Tennant. And I'll just make one comment to some of the items that you brought up in terms of the various permits that would be required or have been acquired outside of what the Planning Commission or Planning Department can control. Those are still required, and that is referenced within this proposed amendment with some of the items that Mr. Call was referencing. And to Mr. Yeager's point, what our attempt is here is to control what we have the ability to control. Thank you.
Can I just ask, but the completion of those permits, the final completion is not a requirement in the application? Is that correct?
I believe that is correct, but Mr. Cole, are
Yeah,
those
that-
final
that's correct.
permits
It's
required today?
putting the responsibility in the applicant's hands as opposed to making sure that they've done it.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'll add additional comments if I may. The concern is if we have a citizen that is looking for information on this modification, they not only have to go to the planning office, but will also have to go to the DOH, will have to go to DEP or any other agency. So having everything coming under one umbrella has worked in the past. Now that we're going to have to figure out, okay, where does DOH stand with this application? Where does Division of Water and Waste stand with this application? It's going to be a maze for the citizens to kind of figure this out.
Citizens still had to work themselves.
Yeah, so the,
Use your engineer, so if you were trying to plan a subdivision, your engineer would, they don't follow. I do see what you're saying, if they're all willy-nilly, it's like you implement it to make sure it's all done. And that's something that they can discuss with the answer to your question.
Yeah, and where before it did come under.
At the end of it, they made sure that it was that.
But instead of us having to go to 5, 6, 7, 8 different agencies to do a FOIA, to look at it, and the way that the regulations or ordinances are submitted is it's up to the applicant to do it.
What do you mean, like, if somebody wanted to find out something about it, they're going to have to go to 5 or 6 places, that's the whole picture.
Yeah. So that's all I'm asking is just to have somebody, just put it under an umbrella and, have all this information so the citizen wants to come in and look at, the development or the change, everything is there. And it will expedite our review. And, most of the time, if everything is there, we wouldn't have an issue.
and what I would say to that is, this planning department, they are still a resource, and they always have been. So if there are, anyone in the public that does have questions, the staff, I'm sure, answers various questions that might be pertinent to their position and their job, and some that aren't. So those, they are a resource for the county and the community.
Mr. President, does the revision of this in any way affect legality of transferring property from a legal perspective to, in order to be able to transfer legal title for a lot in the subdivision? So
No, not that I'm aware
our
of.
responsibility hasn't changed in that regards to, in other words, in the past, I know you can't record a deed, you can't record a lot in a subdivision. Approval.
Right.
As, transfer title, without regulations haven't been met.
Yeah, the DOH permits and the NPDES permits wouldn't affect the legality.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've been addressing that issue for the last several years now. As far as the NPDES permits, not being something that the Planning Commission has jurisdiction over, the stormwater permits and those things. And this change is just to clean it up and make it, the wording of the ordinance the same across the board. Am I not right about that?
Yep.
So it's not a new practice. This is a practice that's been going on for several years now.
Well, since the.
Since we made that change.
Since we made the change, yeah, in recent months.
Correct.
Yeah, this amendment is to clear up any language that is contradictory to the new language.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Ms. Tennant. Are there any other public comments? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public comment portion, and then go ahead and open.
just want to point something out, let me ask you a question. Under that amendment, 1800.6, so we're striking 7 and 8, or if it's approved?
It's striking the, let's see, it's our office's requirement.
No, 7 is approved DOH permit, 8 is the approved NPDES permit. We're striking those both, right?
That's the proposal.
All right.
Yeah.
So, this is just a technical, then we would have to also renumber 9, 10, 11?
Oh, yes, we will. Yes,
Okay.
you're exactly right.
All right. Does that need to be in the,
It's alluded to where it says strike number 8 and make that,
it says add 6?
right, yeah, where it says 1 through 8, it will no longer say 1 through 8, it'll say 1 through 6, but these will most definitely be renumbered, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so the public portion is closed. We'll just go ahead and open it up to the commission members for deliberation. Does anyone have any comments, thoughts, or opinions?
Want to go to your worksheet?
Well, like I said, on my question, I got several acres and some of my kids that would want to build out there next to me, so I'm not sure if this is time my hands anyway, so.
It's my opinion that these changes actually will probably make it a little bit easier on you, in all honesty. It looks to me like these changes may make it even easier on you in the future. I think that's been the intent.
It is. Is there any other comments or questions? So we'll go ahead and move to the fact sheet for the facts that need to be determined. The first criteria is, will the proposed amendment protect and promote public health, safety, convenience, morals, and general welfare? Does anyone have any comments?
I would say that number one would be yes, because the proposed amendments are an effort to bring conformity to the ordinance and to lessen confusion in the application thereof.
Are there any other opinions? Okay, so let's go ahead and we take a vote on that, correct? So all those in favor of criteria number 1 being a yes, signify by aye.
Aye.
Any of those not in favor by no? Okay, the second criteria is the amendment consistent in achieving the objectives of the adopted comprehensive plan, US 35 corridor management plan, and the Taze Valley land use plan. Any opinions?
I would say that it does as well. It makes things easier, streamlined, and encourages growth in the area.
Any other opinions? All those in favor signify by an aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the amendment passes.
No.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry, excuse me. So we need to make a motion to recommend the amendment to the county commission. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay. So moving on, the next item on the agenda is unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business, Mr. Paul?
Not that I am aware of.
Okay, under new business, I do have one item that I would like to, bring up to the commission and to staff, would be the election of officers. Obviously, we have a vice president role that is open currently. I know in the past we've deliberated that here in person, but what I would ask is that staff go ahead and email out all the commission members and request that they have a number 1 and a number 2 for that vice chair role. And then we'll tally the votes, and I'll work with staff in terms of, discussions with that individual. Staff report?
Okay, staff report, you will see the June report as file number 5 on your iPads there. Development permits, so far, we're halfway through the year. We've done 118 development permits so far. We did 16 in June. Zoning permits, we did 8 in June. We've done 29 thus far, halfway through the year. Zoning issue approvals, we've had 4 of those through June. Development plat approvals, we did 17 in June, but so far throughout the first half of the year, we've done 64. And if you see on the next sheet, which is file number 6, no, I'm sorry, that's permits. Scroll down to the bottom of, scroll down, number 5, where you see where it goes back several years. Going back 10 years, just for easy math. So far, this through the first half of this year, we've issued 147 permits. Over the average of the last 10 years, we've averaged 132 at this point, so we're actually up by 11%. Over our past 10-year average for this year. However, we are a bit down from last year at this point. Last year at this point, we had issued 173, so we're down a little bit from that, but we are exceeding our past 10-year average relative to development and zoning permits. And the permit status report is file number 6 on your iPads, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that anybody has relative to these.
A question of interest, the Pilot Travel Center EV charging station, is that to accommodate the new electric tractors that are hitting the road, do you know?
Let's see, which one is,
It's the 4th one on the
Fourth
list
one,
from the
yeah.
top.
okay, I see, yeah, EV charging, that's the EV, the charging stations. Melissa, those are for automobiles, not for the rigs, right? Yeah.
Not for the.
They're for automobiles, yeah.
So is there anything on this permit status report that this group should be made aware of, positive, negative, anything, running stagnant?
I wouldn't say, stagnant. The reason for any permits that aren't issued at this point are in the comments section. Again, be glad to answer anybody's questions relative to these. But I think everything's flowing pretty well. Typically, when there's a holdup, it's typically it's revisions that are pending or something, something like that. But if there's any of them that you, any specific question, we'll be able to answer it.
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I have one quick one on the reporting. How come we no longer review monthly financials?
I don't know. That's been before my time.
I don't have any specific interest. It was always part of our report.
Oh, was it?
And I know
Okay.
in the last, year and a half maybe, they just haven't been doing it, or? Mhm. Sounds right. Okay.
What I would suggest is we probably, if we're not going to do it monthly, we probably need to do that at least quarterly, just so we have our eyes on it. And
Yeah,
I
I'm
know
not-
my accounting neighbor here would probably agree with me as well.
I'm not sure what or if any fiduciary responsibilities that we have as a commission, but it was helpful to kind of see, from a budgetary standpoint, how the office was performing.
When it says on here that it's emailed, does that mean we've emailed asking for information? Is that what that means when it says emailed or emailing?
That means the permit was emailed to the applicant. The applicant can choose to have it mailed or pick it up or have it emailed.
Gotcha, thank you.
Any other comments or questions on the permitting status? Thank you, staff, for keeping up with this. Okay, the next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 15th, and with that, I'll go ahead and ask for an adjournment.
I got one question before we adjourn. I'm not sure who this might fall under, but come down Scary Hill every day with a new car wash station that is being renovated on Scary Hill. They have a fence all the way around it. And inside that fence, which is a law, there's a fire hydrant. If any of the businesses through that area, like a restaurant, catch on fire, they have no access to a fire hydrant.
That is
I'm sure that's not our.
it might be outside of the reach of the planning commission, but
Maybe
I
we'll
can
let the fire
certainly,
department know.
I'll bring that to Mr. Smoot's attention. Would he be the appropriate person to talk to about that?
yeah, I would say the fire department could bring
Yeah.
out something, get to it pretty quickly if they needed to.
Right. James,
Never noticed that before.
James and Mr. Smoot, yeah, okay.
Exactly what you're talking
Probably more so James. Right.
Just a question.
No, that's
That's a-
that's a
that's a
good
good
concern
point.
to bring up. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Okay, we're closed.
Just talking about the EV stations, we were in Carlisle, Pennsylvania this past weekend for the Chrysler Nationals. We pulled in the sheets, and there were people there waiting to charge their vehicles. And there was a maintenance man, the guy was working, they're working on it. And people were waiting
Oh, no.
to charge their cars.
Wow.
They scheduled, that was like recharges. And then they couldn't. So a new Audi, EV Audi was sitting there, out of state license. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but. Trying to get to the
Get to the next one.
That was your first meeting.
I did one before, Jason, but it was,